I how did UNEP come into existence? It came in the year in existence in the year 1972. Okay, it was the Stockholm Conference on Environment and Human Development, which led to the birth of United Nations Environment Program. So the way you'll remember is Stockholm Conference led to the birth of United Nations Environment Program, and both of them happened in the year 1972. Now, I think 2 classes before I asked all of you as to when was the first time the world came together to talk about climate change. All of you said correctly 1992. One of you answered 1971. I said, yeah, that person is also correct, but in a different context. The reason is the first time the world had a conference on environment and human development even before 1992, which is your Stockholm Conference. So just try to understand the importance of Stockholm Conference. While the Rio Conference was primarily on climate change, Stockholm Conference was overall on environment, air, water, biodiversity, climate change, pollution, everything was discussed. Okay, so it had a scope much wider. So that's one point I want you to remember. So that's about Stockholm, and it is known as so it had a declaration. So there were 2 things. One declaration is called Stockholm Declaration. The other one is called as the Action Plan for Human Environment. These were 2 documents or 2 principles which were outcome of Stockholm Declaration and of the Stockholm Conference. Sorry, and the Stockholm Declaration is known as the Magna Carta. Magna Carta is what should I say? Magna Carta, you must have heard of it. The original Magna Carta is in a different context. When the King of England said that he is responsible to the people and all, that is my original Magna Carta. But here, when we say Magna Carta of Environmental Protection and Development, what it means is Magna Carta of Environment Protection means it is like the Bible. It is the mother document. It is an organic document on environmental protection and development. Okay, and for the first time globally, environment issues came at the forefront. That's very significant for the first time, and therefore it's not a coincidence that they also formed an organization called UNEP, so that what should I say? They also placed environmental issues at the forefront of of international concerns, so that people for the first time understood that it is important that issues on sustainable development cannot be handled by one single person. Interestingly, when we talk about sustainable development, somewhere in the 1970s, and I believe it was 1972 to 76 in this period, there was a paper called as Limits to Growth. So 70s clearly Limits to Growth, which focuses on the fact that which for the first time used the word sustainable development in the way that we understand now. So 70s clearly there was a lot of action both on climate change, environmental protection, as well as on sustainable development. So as I said, it talks not just about pollution, it also talks about protecting wildlife, conserving natural resources. There were a lot of recommendations. What is important is India and Stockholm Conference. This point is important. If you don't remember the other points, it is still okay. What you can remember in this whole, so this once again, I expect it to be more from prelims, but it could be a mains one also. They can frame a mains question like analyze the progress that the world has made in the last 50 years since the Stockholm Conference. It could be like a motherhood statement. We'll suddenly struggle what to write and what not to, but be prepared for such a question. Okay, India and Stockholm Conference. At that time in 1972, Indira Gandhi was our prime minister. So she had gone to attend this conference, and after she came back, India initiated a slew of reforms in environment, starting with Water Act, Air Act, and Environmental Protection Act of 1986. So one by one, one thing after another, the legislation started happening in the environment domain. Till then, in fact, when we come to pollution, you'll also understand that the Ministry of Environment and Forest itself did not exist for the first 25 years of our independence. Only in 70s, the Ministry of Environment itself, it was the Department of Environment. Later, it became Ministry of Environment. Okay, so that's on the Stockholm